Argosy HALO KE2 Desk. And here are my thoughts about that cool desk behind me.
When I first got my desk, I didn't know what to expect. You know, getting studio furniture like this is really pricey. It's no joke. It has to be a decision that's going to benefit you, or you think is going to benefit you. And I chose to get the keyboard-centric version, and specifically the keyboard-centric version that will go ahead and allow for a 61-key keyboard. Now, this is not a 61-key keyboard. I believe this is the A49 from Complete. And I wanted that so I could have a little bit of side space on either side of the keyboard, because I would have something like this to control my interface. So this controls my RME interface right there. And you can see I have a 500 series rack that's still empty because SSL hasn't come out with the 500 series stuff I want yet. Over on this side I have a power conditioner, of course, and you see down here I have my homemade PC. The desk itself, I chose to go ahead and get piece by piece. And one of the reasons for that is when I priced out the deluxe version, it came with some things I didn't need and some stuff that I wanted. I found I could get cheaper by piecing it out. For example, this Aperta, it's called the Aperta 160, I believe, this speaker platform here. This speaker platform screws in to the side of the rack right back in here. And when I take this desk apart to move it, I'll give more information on that. But the desk itself is very high quality. It has decent options for cable management, in my opinion. Okay, now you can see down here. Let's go ahead and take a look. I do have a mess of cables, but there's that cable tray right there. And that is very handy for routing stuff. What I mainly care about is that I don't tangle my feet in cables and that I know where my cables are. This right here is a cable tray that can be pulled out and it comes right off here. So I just pop that tray off. And this allows you to route things however you see fit underneath here. Get it to focus a little bit better back in there. Anyway, so the cable management is really something that's up to you. Now, depending on what type of desk you were to get, if you were to get something that came with speaker trays like this Aperta 160 tray, where then you can get this to go ahead and you can angle these. You can set the adjustment angle of these. It's actually really easy to do. I'm not sure if you do it by screwing on this thing. It's been a while since I did it. Anyway, but I set that angle and you can pop this whole top carrier off of these pegs here and adjust it, I believe, for the angle. Again, it's been a while. Argosy sends this strap so you can go ahead and make sure your monitor speakers are secure when the desk moves up and down. If you got the sit stand version of the desk, which I did, I think it's important to, if you have the means, to take care of your back any way you can. And you know, as I get not as young as I used to be, and back health is really important. I sit at this desk for probably at least 8 hours a day, most often more than that. So it helps to be able to have the desk go up and down. The controls for the desk, for the raising and lowering, they're obscured a little bit here, but there's a plus and a minus to raise it up one little bit at a time. But I'll go ahead and hit the standing height and show you what that looks like. So now this desk is at a height that I like. This is a particularly good height for me if I want to stand here and work playing the keyboard, and so I can see the TV screen I have behind it. I chose to not get the Argosy monitor mounts if I were to mount computer monitors behind the desk here, because their mounting arms from Argosy are very expensive, and I wanted a bigger screen anyway. So this screen right here is, I believe, a 55-inch, and that happens to be just about, you can see me, just about perfect, because the edge is not really obscured by either of the side wings of the desk. Now let's take a look under the desk, and I'll show you a little bit of what the assembly process entailed. So down here we have, of course, the little screws here where I had to mount the keyboard tray that slides in and out. This keyboard tray is very nice. It's metal, it's easy to undo. If you need to, you can pop it right out. It does kind of go into a locking sort of situation if you push it forward far enough. Well, actually it's not doing it right now because I've adjusted it, but anyway, it's really nice. So the desk itself, let's get a little bit further under here. The desk itself is supported by the main frame of the desk. So you have this metal frame here. This metal frame is what those side pieces are mounted to. So that's kind of all one bit. When you first assemble the desk, you assemble these side pieces first. These pieces here, these wings, and then you mount them to this aluminum frame. It's a very stout frame, it's very good. And so here's part of the aluminum frame. And this is the top of the desk here. And you can see this is the little side panel, and there's some of the electronics for the desk to go up and down. You'll notice right here too, I do not have a screw going in there. And that's because lining up all the screw holes, even though I did follow the directions to leave bolts and things loose when you're assembling the desk, that was one I was not able to line up. And it's okay, it's plenty sturdy without it, so I'm not worried about that. So you have these supports here, these struts, and these are to give the desk stability when it's moving around. This little module that is tucked back in to the back of my cable management tray. Let's see if I can show you that. The cable management tray does pop off for moving cables around, or if you want to disassemble the desk. It's pretty easy to disassemble that. There are two little screws on the bottom and kind of quick detach mounts. So it's back in there. There's a little box. It's not that little. It's a box right in here. It's right there. And it has some wires in it, and of course a power cable. And it mounts to this tray. You can see these little slotted mounts here. So that little actuator mounts there. You plug in the actuator, and then you hook these power cables right here up to the legs. And again, these right here, this looks like maybe a wear mark on the leg, but it's not. It's just styrofoam from the packaging. So here we have the back of one of the wings. So you can see my 500 series rack. You can see how the speaker is mounted right there. And here's how that speaker tray is mounted. Let's see if we can get it to focus in there. So these screws are what I'll have to undo here to go ahead and remove this Aperta 160 speaker tray from the wing. And I may do that when I move it, I don't know. So as you can see, I have a bunch of cables running, but from the front it actually looks pretty good. And I know where the cables are, so it's not a big deal. The desk itself is stabilized, the two legs, by this bolt-on bar. So you can easily unbolt this bar. And I may do that when I move it, or I may just leave it bolted together. For my screen here, I got this stand off of eBay. And this stand has worked really well. It was inexpensive for what it was. I think it was about 50 bucks, something like that. And it works great for holding up my monitor. And as you can see here, I have the lights that I use when I'm making videos. Overall, I'm pleased, very pleased with the quality and the use, the ergonomics of the desk. I'm going to go ahead and lower it here. It's really easy to set the height that you want it to be in its lowest position and in its highest position. I believe all you do is you raise it up to whatever level you want by using a little plus and minus key in there, and then you hit the memory button and then assign it a number. If you have the means and you won't be moving too often, so you don't have to move the desk too often, I believe the desk itself weighs about 200 pounds. So it'd be a hassle to move. You know, you need a few people to move it, probably more than just two people because it's awkward. So it's much better to detach the surface of the desk from the legs for moving it. More on that once I do it. One of the things I wanted to point out about the desk is, you know, I got these shelves. These are the official Argosy angled shelves. If you don't have just a bunch of equipment to go ahead and fill the space with. But if you go ahead and you do put equipment in, rack mount units, say in this bottom position, say a 1U rack mount unit, there isn't much depth allowed for that unit. So you'd have to have a very shallow unit. You might be able to fit let's see, how much space do you have? Yeah, a little dusty, but back here, if you have a rack mount unit and it extends down, it's gonna run into this bar. So it says in the instructions, if you mount something, a rack mounted unit here, it can only have a depth of something like 3.75 inches or something like that. So that's something to keep in mind. You have to really know what you're going to do with your outboard gear if you have a lot of it.